What's good, fam? I just want to welcome you back to our Monday Night Leadership Tips and Best Practices. So I'm super passionate about the growth of our influence as a community of apprentices to Jesus, because the more we pursue the rhythm of His life, of our Lord, the more we will grow in our impact to those around us. I've been so blessed by reading this leadership book called At Your Best by Pastor Carey Newhoff. Now, I know I sound like a broken record when I said so, but I'm just so blessed by it. And I've been sharing my learnings with all of you, and I'm going to continue to share some amazing gold nuggets. Now, last week, we were beginning to address the 3 life-draining patterns that we get stuck on in life. And if we're not careful, it gets harder and harder to get unstuck. And these 3 patterns were an unfocused time, an unleveraged energy, and an unhinged priorities. And from the previous lessons, we were also learning that when we practice the opposite of these patterns, which is a focused time, developing how to leverage energy and correcting our priorities, it can be life-giving. And so what we want to do is we want to start building them into the rhythms of our life. Now, today, the topic that I want us to talk about is time. And here's the truth about time. We all, no matter who you are, have the exact same amount of time with anyone else who's living on planet Earth, with the exception of the day that you were born and the day that you die. We have the same exact amount of time every single day, 24 hours. That's what we all get. Whether you're the most productive people, you will have the same amount with the most least productive people, and time doesn't discriminate. And the same trap, however, is laid for both, whether you're productive or not productive. Is, will you spend most of your time on what matters least? And if you do, then you will always spend the least amount of your time on what matters most. Now, maybe some of you are thinking, oh, I think I get where you're going, Pastor. This video is totally about time management. No, not exactly. Even though time management is important, but this video is not about that. And now, while I think that time management makes you more efficient, but it doesn't always translate into effectiveness, especially over a long run period of a time. There is a limit to efficiency, because here's the truth. Life is not always the same, especially when you're choosing to grow and be transformed to become more and more like Jesus. God brings you to different seasons in life, and He forms you through different ways. And what works or are efficient in one season does not mean that it can work in a different situation with different people and different resources in a different timing in life altogether. And here's another thing about time. Time doesn't grow. It won't expand. People think that money is a limited commodity. That's true. However, I think time is even more so. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. Right? To make matters more frustrating, for many of you who have already grown accustomed to your specific patterns in life, and you're this well-oiled machine, super efficient, oftentimes your time management becomes robotic and it becomes demotivating because you have to settle for small, sometimes microscopic improvements and progresses. Meanwhile, the opportunities that maybe are coming your way and the responsibilities that you are carrying continue to expand. So then what do you do in that kind of moment, in that kind of season, when it comes to dealing with time? So there are 2 crucial shifts that we need to make so that we not only going to become more efficient, but I believe what we need is more effectiveness. So number 1, you ready for this? This first shift about time, you ready? Be more honest about your time. Be more honest about your time. Now, maybe if you have ever listened to yourself talking to people, or people maybe around you, maybe you've heard this kind of statements before. You ready? Sorry, I just don't have the time. Right? I didn't have a chance to get it done, or I wasn't able to finish it on time, or I just can't, or I wish I could, but it's impossible. Now, any of these statements, have you ever heard it before in your life? And have you spoken these things in your life before? I'm willing to bet you have. So I want you to take a moment, though, to really hear what you're actually saying. First of all, when you really dissect what you're saying, they're not entirely true. You could have, you just didn't. right? And coming to terms with the truthfulness of how I thought and I speak about time, it completely removes the power of excuses in my life. And truth is, we all love our excuses, don't we? Our excuses have become a type of shield and validity to why it's absolutely okay for us to not progress in life. Excuses deflect accountability and personal responsibility, which will sabotage your hope, your dreams, and your goals. And it steals, kills, and destroys the opportunities for you from experiencing the best that God actually has for you in the different seasons of your life. And the Apostle Paul puts it like this in the book of Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 to 17. He says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So let's actually practice that. Let's look carefully then how we've been living. How we've been walking. Have we been living as somebody who's wise or unwise? What is the determining factor of that? Have we been making the best use of the time? That is what Paul was essentially labeling as unwise or wise. How you manage your time, or how you have been making the best use of your time. And this is what also he considers foolish. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. If you don't understand the season that you're in, you can make some foolish decisions. Now, so here's what I want us to do. I want us to start practicing this. We're going to practice this in a very practical manner. So let's start telling ourselves the truth. Let's do a little practice. Will you stand up right now? Look at yourself in the mirror or pull up a selfie. Now, I want you to confess some of these things. You ready? Number one, I had time. I didn't do it. Another one. I had a chance to get it done, but I did not take it. I was able to finish the assignments. I just didn't. I could, but I chose not to. It's not impossible. I just refuse to make time. I'm opting to not meet with people. It's not because I'm busy. I'm just opting to not meet with people. I don't want to meet with people. Let's be honest. I'm deciding to not work out. I'm choosing to not go to that school play that my son has been asking me to come to. I don't want to go to my daughter's softball practices or soccer practices. I don't want to go to that event where maybe my uncle or my aunt or my mom or my dad has invited me into. And doesn't that just totally sound horrible? But you've admitted, congratulations, you have admitted to yourself, and I realize that it requires a pretty epic level of honesty. But here's the thing. The truth can hurt, yes, but the truth can also set you free. A truth can be a healing salve when it is done right. After all the lies that we tell ourselves, the lies that we believe about ourselves are the most deadliest poison to our soul and to our productivity. So the first step in focusing your time is to start telling the truth about time. So stop saying that you don't have time and start admitting that you haven't been making time. Now, you and I need to work this obviously in the everyday life. Now, what does that look like? I want us to make sure that in our pursuit, in our passion now about this telling the truth about time, that we don't start burning bridges. What do I mean by that? I think it's better as you begin to internalize some of these truth concerning time, to yourself first, making sure that you believe it yourself, because telling people that I'm not going to make time for you or I don't have time for you is an easy way to ruin the social life real fast, right? Texting your buddy whom you usually hang out, maybe on a pickup basketball game on Friday, saying that, peace out, homie. This is no longer priority in my life. That is probably one of the quickest way to end a friendship. And we don't want to lose a good buddy, right? Instead, maybe you need to learn to internalize this first. And as you continue to internalize, I'm not going to make excuses about time. It's not that I don't have time. I don't make time. You're going to start noticing the power in telling yourself the truth. And maybe, like I said, when you're invited into a specific family event, what it is, lunch, and you've decided not to make time for your family member in, I don't know, weeks and rows or months even has passed by. Well, maybe that should tell you something. Maybe lying to yourself is not lying to yourself about not having the time. It gives you the opportunity to get off the hook. And telling yourself the truth will, of course, bring you to a very sobering moment, and maybe you won't like it in the beginning, but it is a reality. Maybe your family or whoever it is that has been asking you for time is not a priority in your life. Maybe it's your mom. Then your mom is not a priority. Maybe your dad is not a priority. Maybe it's a son or a daughter. Maybe your child is not a priority. I know that sounds just absolutely dreadful, but at least now you know what you're dealing with. And I think it's very, very important for us to remember that we have as much time as anyone else to do all these things. You have the time. The only question is whether or not you will make time. A second mental shift about time, especially now that we're already coming to a space of honesty, of being truthful about the time that we have been spending or we choosing to spend, is now we need to focus on our essentially our overall attention. And the second shift that we need to make is this: embracing your season, your passion, and your current learning. I think it's very, very important. Now, I know that we're all in the pursuit of balance, right? Because balance is the key to healthy living. However, I would like to suggest that balance looks different in every season of your life. To be balanced as a single person and to be balanced as a married person looks very different. Amen? To be balanced as a newlywed and to be balanced as a parent, woo, looks completely different, okay? Balance should not be your goal. Balance is a byproduct of you aligning yourself with the perfect will of God in every season of life. And aligning with God may look different as you shift, and you're gonna constantly navigate through these shifting moments in your life. And sometimes you can get stuck in your idea of balance from your previous season, that you end up not being present for the current season. And the very thing that you try to avoid, which is imbalance, will become your constant reality. It's like what Jesus said, trying to put a new wine in an old wineskin. It didn't work in the time of Jesus, and guess what? It still don't work today, okay? And I think there is a major difference between wanting to have balance and wanting to be comfortable. Let me say that one more time. I think there's a major difference between wanting to have balance and wanting to be comfortable. You see, to be balanced is a part of the fruit of the Spirit called self-control or self-mastery. To be comfortable is to build my life based on my preference and the paralyzing impact of being pleasure-centered. That is the difference between wanting balance and wanting comfortability. And most people who accomplish significant things in history aren't comfortable people. They're passionate people. It's true that some passionate people may have life that you probably don't want to fully emulate. Like, listen, Steve Jobs is amazing, but his obsessive, compulsive passion when it comes down to always wanting to be on the cutting edge of technology, even if it means cutting everybody out in your life, may not be fully worth embracing. And maybe you're looking at somebody like Elon Musk, who's very super obsessive concerning his passion and his vision in life, that essentially he spends hours and hours on end, and other people around him end up suffering. That might not be your life goal. And these giant figures of men really struggled relationally. So what I want all of us to learn to do is maybe to run our desire to live a passionate life through some very key, important filters. Let's take our spiritual life first. What am I passionate about, God, in this season? When it comes down to my spirituality, when it comes down to my walk with you, is what I'm pursuing right now has anything to do with my apprenticeship to Jesus? If not, maybe we need to sift through it And maybe it's your emotion. Maybe it's your mental capacity. What am I filling myself with in this moment? What am I allowing to come in? What thoughts, what feelings am I dwelling in that maybe I haven't dealt with? Is this doing me any favor in this moment? Is this sharpening me? Is this bringing me to learn the specific lesson, the specific learning that God would have me learn in this season? If not, maybe you need to sift through it. Maybe it's physical. It's what I'm eating. It's how I'm exercising, how I'm living my life. Does this fit the call and the vision of God in my life in this season? And even your financial filters. How am I managing my money? Have I been a good steward of everything God has entrusted to me? And have I spent time in doing so? And if not, maybe we need to sift through some things. I feel like one of the things that we want to do is we want to be passionate and we want to completely throw our whole being into spending a specific thing in a specific season in our life. Maybe there's a season right now where God is truly developing your relationship with your spouse. Then taking a time to be able to spend time with your wife or with your husband every single week needs to be something that you invest your whole passion into. If that's really what God is working in your life, it doesn't mean that you're not passionate in other seasons. Maybe there's a specific amount of time that He wants you to invest in to build as foundationals. And different seasons will require different level of intensity. But however, passion will always be there. And I think we need to cultivate that. Or maybe it's discipling your kids. And maybe this is the season where God's saying, I need you to invest all your focus, all your energy, all your time into discipling your children. Because there's something so foundational that I'm bringing out of them, and I need you to be there. And if you don't know the will of God, it's going to be very hard for you to have a very focused time, because then you give your time to every emergency. You give your time to every disruption. We need to discover what is the will of God in our life. Or maybe for some of you, God is saying, I need you to grow in your social life. I need you to grow in your witnessing life. Maybe it's spending time with those that you don't like. Maybe it's spending time with those that you don't really know well, the people that you don't usually hang out with. And God says, I want you to invest your time here, and I want you to learn to be passionate in it. Give your everything. And I love what John Wesley said when it comes down to giving your everything. He says, set yourself on fire with passion, and people will come from miles to watch you burn. I know it sounds a little dark, but here's the reality of that. When you're passionate about something, whether you like it or not, people around you are fascinated by passionate people, because there's something inside of you, the passion that is burning inside of you, that is igniting something inside of them. And that's why people are so drawn to passion, whether it is entrepreneurs, whether it is leaders around you, whether it is somebody famous that you know on TV, whether it is a historical figure that you have learned about in your life. And there's one common factor about some of these men and women. They are passionate people, and passionate people change the world. Comfortable people don't ever change the world. Passionate people do. So what if you embrace everything you choose to do? Not without any resurrection, without any indifference, without or weariness, but with absolute passion. What would be the difference in your workplace if you live out a passionate life at home, or with your kids, or with your faith, or with your neighbors and your best friends? If you dove into everything you chose to do with passion, if you're going to take a break, man, break a leg, enjoy it. If you're going to shoot for 8 hours of rest, then sleep deeply. If you want to take a nap, man, enjoy yourself. Don't feel guilty. Embrace it. If you got a big project that you're going to need to tackle at work, then throw your whole being into it. So the key to living passionately is to focus your time on what is truly most important to you. What is God showing you the season for you to invest in, and to choose to do these things wholeheartely with enthusiasm. Now, you're going to always have stress. You're going to have so many different things come your way, and you're going to have to pick and choose, because I like what Greg McCown said. He says, I can do anything, but not everything. I think that is brilliant. I can do anything, but not everything, which means the best strategy to focus your time on the things that and people that matters the most to you. And when you allow something to enter into your calendar and into your life, make it your new goal to pursue it passionately. And passionate people change the world. Are you ready for God to imbue you with such passion that it changes everything around you? But it takes your participation. I love you guys. See you in the next one.